I've enjoyed my tenure with CPS. Okay. It's always been about, protecting children, and I have worked in several different departments, and currently I'm in the foster adoption program. And my primary duties are to recruit children on the statewide adoption website. And second to that is to recruit for new foster adopt parents. And regarding the children that we recruit for new adoptive families, it involves getting out into the community and gaining the support of different community groups like yourselves to help us find some loving and protective homes for these adoptive children. And that's part of my presentation here, not only about how children and families get involved with the CPS agency, but how their journey eventually leads to attempts to find them, an adoptive forever home.
Excellent.
Okay, he's a Musketeer, okay. What you see there on the first screen there, it's in reference to a public adoption program called Why Not You? And if you go on the website, which is indicated there on the screen, you'll be able to find the reasons that that we need people like yourselves, to help us find adoptive homes for our children, the different programs that are available for prospective adoptive parents, just a lot of different information regarding foster and adoptive programs for these children. And that's the title of it right there, Why Not You? I want to thank Ms. Linda and Mr. David for giving us, myself, an opportunity to express our gratitude, for partnering with us, for joining us in this ongoing attempt to find a loving home for our adoptive children. This right here, what it reveals is, as it says up there, the child's journey through the system. And it all starts with a community. By law, anyone that suspects or even witnesses that a child has been abused, we do work on risk, not just an actual witness of the injury to the child. Everyone is by law required to call that hotline number, and you'll see that state of Texas up there. It's showing that we are divided into 11 different regions. We are Region 3, which is the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So if you can imagine all those statewide calls going right into the middle of that state of Texas, right next to that number 7, that is Austin, Texas. Those phone calls for 2014, they've been averaging over 300,000 calls a month. And what's also alarming, the intake department has been opening up over 200,000 investigations off of those calls, which leads to that investigation icon that you see up there. And those investigations, they come in two priorities is the way that we classify them. Priority 1 is when an actual injury has occurred to the child. They mostly come from emergency rooms from children's hospitals. Now, once an investigation is open, the investigator has two options. One of them does not involve legal intervention, meaning family preservation services. We work with the families that led to that phone call, investigation, and so forth. Now, the other one that you see there, legal ongoing foster care, that does involve legal intervention, meaning that a child has been injured, the child is not going to be safe in the home, so we request from the judge that the state of Texas, not the CPS agency, the state of Texas be named temporary legal guardian of that child victim. Now, under new laws, which prevents a child from living their life out in foster care, the sovereign goal is reunification, which is what we try to emphasize to the foster parents. That reunification is the sovereign goal, irrespective of what country they live in. To mind, Mexico, comes to mind quickly because they're our neighbors. But the CPS agency deals with 3 different continents, 50 different nations. So we have a heck of a job before us. But now, for this evening's topic, which is adoption, adoption occurs after parental rights have been terminated and the child is available for adoption and registered on the adoption website. Now, this journey right here creates several different types of statistics. As you can see, the state total of children that are in foster care, these are children hoping to go back home, is well over 16,000. Region 3, which as I mentioned is us, the Dallas-Fort Worth area, there's close to 3,000 children hoping to go back home with their families. Adoptive statistics, as you can see there, without that icon there, it's close to 6,000 children waiting for a forever home.
That's in the state of Texas.
In the state of Texas.
Okay.
In Region 3, which is us, it fluctuates between 1,500 to 2,000 children hoping to get adopted by an adoptive family. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, since we're emphasizing adoption here, the children are available for adoption after the parental rights have been terminated. That is a forever legal action. These children, they're represented on the TER website, which is the Texas Adoption Resource Exchange, and that is the link to that. Now, the process, as simply as I can make it, is this, that licensed adoptive families, they are assessed and then selected for the children based on their ability to meet their needs regarding their emotional or behavioral, their trauma, that they've suffered. This is not a program where we find a child for the family. There's a misconception, misunderstanding regarding that. We are here to find families for the child, not vice versa. Now, the legal time frame for a child to live in the home of the family that is selected is 6 months. And that's a legal time frame. We have nothing to do with that. That's the law. After that, literally, the adoptive family, they are the boss. They say, Mr. Sanchez, we're ready to consummate the adoption, and here we go. Now, when that decree is signed, now the child has a forever family on a permanent basis. There are no trial runs. I explained to the participants regarding this issue. If you want to generate an instant CPS investigation, return one of our kids. It's called abandonment, refusal to accept parental responsibility. So it's a very serious, situation there for them. And that's one thing that we emphasize to the adoptive families. Even though that child has been there 6 months, that's the legal time frame, you can take some more time because you can always say no, even at that point in the courtroom. That's not what we're advocating, but we try to emphasize to them that, look, let it be from your heart, not from any aspiration of, trying to fulfill your needs. We're here to fulfill the child's needs, but yes, that has happened. Now, these children, they come in different groups, and they are granted special recruitment, meaning that there are special recruitment programs designed to help get these children that are more difficult to get adopted with these different types of programs. And these children, if they come from a minority group, if they're 2 years or older, the 3 primary ones are the African American children, Anglo, and Hispanic. They can be 6 years of age or older. 60% are teenagers, 9 to 17. Very difficult to get adopted because of stereotypes. Well, I don't want a child that's a teenager. That gummy, he's already set in his ways, on and on and on. Our counterpoint to that is, look, these children, because of their trauma, ongoing counseling is there, even after post-adoption, which is a post-adoption benefit. So, we try to train our prospective adoptive parents regarding that stereotype of teenagers and so forth. Now, another difficulty of getting children adopted are those that come in sibling groups, 3 or more. And unless we have a professional diagnosis that this child, primarily the child victim, is going to disrupt the adoption, we do our best to keep the sibling groups together, not only in foster homes, but to be adopted together. If that is not possible, then at least, we try to get the adoptive family to agree that they maintain contact. And believe it or not, some families say, no, that's it, it's over. So that does happen. Okay? Now, regarding children with primary medical needs, lifelong handicap conditions, that's in reference to not only being born with a medical need, etc., or a disability or anything like that. It's primarily in reference to the drug abuse by young and adult women. And the consequences are horrific. They abuse drugs during pregnancy. The child is born drug toxic. And I can tell you from experience, it is no fun holding a newborn, screaming their heart out with the withdrawals, the pain of withdrawals, and their mama, they're in jail. They're getting all the treatment, all the help that they can get. So this outline of children that you see there are more problematic in getting adopted. That's why there are special recruitment programs to alleviate that problem. Now we have adoption partners, and they're outlined there. The primary partners that we have to help us get these children adopted. Private adoption agencies. They're better known as collaborative agencies. There's more of them than there is of us. So the CPS agency has an official collaborative agreement to help us find new foster adoptive families. There's another organization called Child Congregations Helping in Love and Dedication, meaning that we do recruit within the churches. We go in and present our program, our needs to the churches of any denomination, and we help them set up their own ministry of foster adoption. And the members become their circle of support. Because foster adoptive parents, they always need babysitters, they need time off because of the challenging procedures and requirements that they have to comply with. The Adoption Coalition of Texas, Wendy's wonderful kids there. That's the legacy of Mr. Dave Thomas, may he rest in peace. Wendy's restaurants. Okay, now his daughter continues with that legacy. There is a website, you can order magazines that I also order, and I do hand out at my presentations, and it explains all about not only fostering, but about adoption, the different programs of adoption and so forth. And as you can see there, we have other community partners. And now, as you can see there, we have Rotary Clubs of Texas. It started somewhat like 6 years ago. One of my co-worker recruiters, she started with one Rotary Club. And then over the years, 2 or 3 years passed by, and then a Rotary Club began having an adoption match event. I believe it was in Balch Springs.
No, that was our district, yeah.
Okay. Then eventually,
It went to Rockwell.
let's see, this club out of Arlington, they joined in, and others, like you mentioned, Rockwell. And that led us to y'all, which is Rotary Club 5810 E-Club.
You remember that day? Bill, you remember that day?
Oh, yeah.
As you can see there,
We're having another one.
There's Cory in the background with the weed.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right.
We found a kid I would have topped.
as you can see there, May 17th this year, this club had a Dallas adoption match event, as you see there. 2 teenagers, they won road bikes to take on home. And to my information, there were 5 inquiries, meaning that 5 adoptive families became interested in the children that they saw, some of the children that they saw there. Believe it or not, sandbagging exists everywhere, including with foster adoptive parents. And this is all with all due respect to them. But like I mentioned earlier, we do give them time to make a final firm decision, you know. And, but there are times when they say, well, I'm not just ready yet. Okay, so we wait and we wait. Well, we found it kind of unusual. They're going to an adoption match event. I say, what's all that about? Well, they're going to meet adoptive families, and if they get picked, I mean, those families and that child that you have in your home, you know, we might match them up. And then next thing we know, no, they're not going to go. We've changed our mind. We'll sign our intent to adopt very quickly. Yeah, that. Yeah, we have quite a few success stories, you know, with y'all supporting our adoptive programs. As for 2015, 21st of February, another adoption match event. As you can see there, you know, it's all about having adoptive parents, and let me tell you, they come from all over Texas. They're all invited through the different agencies, and they do come in. Amarillo, Corpus Christi, El Paso, on and on and on. And that gives them a chance to interact directly with the child. And if they, you know, they become interested in a sibling group or one specific child, then they interact with them. Then what they do, they come to us, and you know, they're registered for that child, and their home study is sent to the assigned caseworker. Many times that caseworker is there at that event, and they begin, you know, they're interviewed right on the spot. So that, you know, that expedites the process of getting selected for that child and so forth. So it comes right back to that question, why not you? And the reply is, if it's not you, then who's going to do it? There's different types of match events, and one of them, what we used to do, we used to have albums. That's what you're referring to?
The album.
We would invite all these families to an adoption match event, but what we would take was albums, you know, photos and profiles of the children, and, you know, that they became disinterested afterwards. You know, the common comment was, well, I want to meet the child. I don't want to be looking at photos and on and on. You know, I can do that all day long on the TERR website. So I said, okay, well, let's see who we can find, and Rotary clubs. If they transport the adoptive child, then they will be with them, and they are to stay with them, you know, until, you know, it's the event is over. But the children, they are in foster homes. We have foster homes that are not only there for the to be able to attain the reunification, you know, goal, but also for adoptive children to attain, you know, the adoption goal. So they serve a dual purpose, you know, for those children.
Yeah, something to think about.
Yes, sir. In fact, sometimes they'll come back and they'll tell their assigned caseworkers, you know what, I want my license amended. I want to adopt. I want to be dual licensed. There's 3 types. There's a foster only, an adopt, and a dual license. 50% of our adoptions come by way of the dual license because they become bonded with the child. And at the same time, they're able to look into the TERR website. But most of the time, they become bonded with that child in their home. And if the parental rights are terminated, they get first choice. In fact, many times the judge will ask, are they in a dual license home, foster to adopt? Yes, Your Honor. Have they stated an intent to adopt this child? Yes, Your Honor. It's practically automatic. He'll just sign that termination decree. There's a long list of adoption benefits that you're referring to. The first one is the subsidies. That right there is, it's in reference to the level of trauma that the child has suffered, or the physical disability or handicap that they might have. These children, they have their own attorney, and he will fight for every dime that he can get to help the adoptive parents, you know, help to pay for the therapeutic or medical needs, services, different things like that. Now, one beautiful benefit, if an adoptive child eventually, you know, grows up and states an intent to go on to college, if it's a state school, it's completely paid for. completely paid for.
A state school, not SMU.
If Zeke Sanchez,
UT is a state school.
Yeah.
if Zeke Sanchez, you know, says, you know what, I want to go on to college. I want to go to UT in Austin. It's paid for.
Is this the tuition part of the
All of it.
All of it,
All of it.
rent? board?
All of it.
all of it.
Plus, there are post-adoption benefits. It's primarily related to what they are now really emphasizing on and getting additional training on, post-traumatic syndrome. Research shows that these children that have been abused suffer twice the impact of post-traumatic syndrome
That's exactly.
than an adult, than a soldier coming back from Vietnam.
Wow.
So let's say that the child has been adopted, and it's a well-known fact, you know, all it takes is a word or an act and they have a relapse. Then the adoptive parent calls the agency, and I've had those calls. My job is to get them into contact with the eligibility department. They'll pull all the records and reinstate whatever therapeutic assistance or financial help that they need in order for that child, you know, to get back to managing whatever emotions, trauma, you know, that all of a sudden they've had flashbacks. It's just like an adult soldier, you know, they just have those type of flashbacks. That doesn't mean that it's always going to happen, but it may happen. If it does happen, they do have post-adoption services such as that. I don't have a statistic as to, you know, specifically, you know, to answer that question, but as to aging out, I referred to laws. There are some children that do not want to be adopted. Lots of them are the parent child, the older ones. They still have memories of their, you know, their families. They still love their parents. We have a lot of grandparents raising our kids. But we have to respect that statement, you know, that declaration that they make to us, hey, I don't want to be adopted. My little brothers and sisters, they can go on ahead. Okay, fine. We have to respect that. So they stay in foster care. When they become 18, they're recognized as a legal adult. But if they state an intent to go on to college, to finish their academics, it's paid for. The foster parent has to agree to what is called extended foster care. And they don't have to. Again, they can say no. But that child, with that intent, we find them another foster home that agrees to keep them there till they're like
So
21.
They don't get kicked out of the system in Texas?
Do what,
They
ma'am?
don't get kicked out of the system
No.
in Texas if they
That's
went
what
to
the
college?
new law provides for, extended foster care.
That's what I thought, that at 18 they age out and they're,
On the streets.
yeah,
Literally, that's what used to happen.
yeah,
Uh,
I remember that.
I think this new law was passed 10, 15 years ago, and it's called extended foster care. Now, that new adult has to sign a contract, and they are very strict with that.
Okay.
If they drop out of school or something happens, then it's done. But that's the opportunities that under new laws, you know, and new programs we now provide for these children.
Can grandparents adopt the kids?
Yes, under new laws.
Any-
Now there's they call it a fostering connection, a kinship program. But now relatives, and especially grandparents, they go through the same licensing procedures, and then they are licensed to adopt their biological relative child. And they get the same benefits. Before, they were given what was called permanent managing conservatorship, fancy title meaning, you know, permanent legal guardian. And it was over. No benefits, no anything. Well, just think about it. One of the post-adoption benefits, you know, a child has a relapse. We reinstate their therapeutic, you know, services, needs, whatever. And sometimes these children that are born drug toxic, it'll take years for finally what the consequence, came out of that drug abuse during pregnancy. Well, when it comes to a grandparent, it's over. None of that used to be available to them. But now under this new law and new program, they get licensed just like an adoptive parent. They get the same dadgum benefits. And when you think about it, that kid goes on to college, And poverty is the number one reason, you know, that these children wind up in these abusive homes. Plus, it's not that they're bad human beings or bad people. These are actually child victims themselves. They're just repeating that cycle. So that's why y'all do make a difference. That's why y'all are very, very much needed. That's why we hustle for y'all very, very seriously.